that I can hear myself echoing. Can you do a roll call vote of the members, please?
Definitely. Chair Carter.
Here.
Vice Chair Blue.
Here.
Committee Member Hunter.
Present.
Committee Member Ostovar.
Here.
Committee Member Polly has already let me know he would not be absent today. Committee Member Schmidt.
Present.
And Committee Member Tregenza.
Here.
Thank you all for coming. We have a committee of 6 members today with 1 absent. And for staff, we do have myself, Recording Secretary Jennifer Cleary. We have Community Development Director Kim Cole, and we have Associate Planner Christy Sabdo.
And our new addition to the planning team.
Yes, and our new addition to the planning team, Matthew Buggart. There it is.
Bogert. Awesome. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. We are going to open the consent agenda. And if there are any members of the committee or the public who would like to speak on the consent agenda, which is the approval of the August 4th minutes, you can go ahead and do that now. Okay, seeing none, we will call for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second it.
So Bob made the motion and Ed seconded it. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Thank you for recapping that, Chair. For the roll call vote, we have you, Chair Carter.
Aye.
And Vice Chair Bluth,
Aye.
Committee Member Hunter,
Aye.
Committee Member Ostovar,
Aye.
Committee Member Schmidt,
Aye.
and Committee Member Tregenza.
Aye.
Thank you. And Committee Member Tregenza, I do have you that you were absent at our last meeting.
Oh, that's right. Never mind. I abstained. Sorry about that. No,
You can vote on them if you have watched the video.
I haven't. So I my bad. I abstained.
Okay, thank you. These minutes passed with a vote of 5. And I will also take this opportunity to announce how members can join to provide public comment. This meeting is offered live in our council chambers at City Hall in Monterey. You can also join meetings via ZoomGov, a secure service that connects you live with no lag time. This meeting is also streamed live on youtube.com/City of Monterey with a 10-second delay and Comcast channel 25 with up to a 90-second delay. If you would like to provide public comment, please join the meeting using Zoom or by telephone, making sure to join in time to accommodate delays. To join the meeting in Zoom from a computer or iPhone, just phone, use the link or phone numbers listed on the agenda at isearchmonterey.org. Since the meeting has begun, you will find the agenda under the Recent tab. To join by telephone, dial 833-568-8864 toll free. Once again, that is 833-568-8864. Then enter the webinar ID. If the first phone number does not work, there are more listed on the meeting agenda, again at isearchmonterey.org. The webinar ID for this meeting is 161-914-9563. I repeat, 161-914-9563. If prompted for a participant ID, press pound. To provide public comment, use the raise your hand button in Zoom at the bottom of the screen. If you are providing public comment by phone, dial *9 to raise your hand, then *6 to unmute when called upon. Public commenters calling in by phone will be announced using the last 3 phone number digits or the name typed into Zoom. Detailed instructions for using Zoom are available at monterey.org/public meetings. Public commenters will be muted until it is their turn to speak. Please turn off your TV or computer speakers or go into another room while connected by phone, as background noise interferes with the broadcast. Public commenters will be called upon in order of hands raised. The chair has designated a 3-minute time limit for today's meeting. And Does anyone in person want to provide comment for items not on the agenda?
Great. Seeing none, we will close public comment at this time and we will open our,
I'm sorry, Chair Jennifer, can you just verify for the record, there's no one online that's raising their hand?
I do not see any attendees in the meeting. But once again, just a quick reminder, we can, you can join Zoom via Zoom Gov or watch along on youtube.com/City of Monterey. The webinar ID for this meeting is 161-914-9563. And I see no hands raised at this time. So I believe we can move on.
excellent. Thank you.
Mhm.
Next, we will open our first public appearance item, which is consider 541 Dry Creek Road application ARP 21-0082 for preliminary and final architectural review. Do you have a report, staff?
Hi, thank you, Chair Carter and committee members. My name is Christy Sabdo, an associate planner with the City of Monterey. The first on the agenda is 541 Dry Creek Road. It's a first and second story addition. The project site is zoned R1. It has a general plan land use designation of low density residential, and it's located in the Monterey Vista neighborhood. So here are some current pictures of the property. As background, the applicant proposes to construct the first and second story addition and exterior alterations to an existing two-story single-family dwelling. Second story additions to single-family dwellings require architectural review committee approval, so that's why it's before you today. So the proposal includes a total of 543 square feet of an addition. On the first story, it'd be a 194.5 square foot addition. The second story would be a 348.5 square foot addition. And then the rear deck will be expanded. You could see on the site plan here by 148 square feet. Other exterior alterations that I will go over later in the presentation and interior remodel. So here's a quick snapshot of where the additions will be located on both the first and second story addition, highlighted in the blue crosshatch. So just to let you know, that typically we require a structural engineer's report if any portion of the proposed second story is going to be over the existing first story. So only 50 square feet of the second story addition will be located over the existing first story, and that would be over a part of the existing garage. They did submit a structural engineer report, which stated that the second story will be carried on a new foundation with supports. And additionally, they'll provide further information during the building permit stage, but they did satisfy this. So the first story addition located here in orange, there would be additional space for existing rooms, a new dining area at this location. But the orange highlights are the additions. There will be a stairwell for the first and second story addition. So it's a two-story stairwell. And there will be an expanded deck along the first story and new stairs. Here's the second story addition located in orange. Would include an additional bedroom with a walk-in closet, an additional bathroom, laundry room, and then a stairwell to the first story. So here are the elevations. I have also highlighted in orange where the addition is taking place. You could see the stairwell in the front here. And then the addition, the part you can see from the front elevation. Here's the existing elevation, and you can see if you compare differences, the garage is going to have a new pitched roof. And that pitch matches that of the existing the proposed stairwell. The proposed addition will have a somewhat flat roof. The east elevation, this is showing the existing elevation as it is now, and then the proposed addition in orange here. And here is the garage with a new pitched roof. This is the west elevation. So here's the garage, and then here's the garage as it's going to look. And then the addition, which you can see a portion of that from the west elevation. And here's the south elevation, the addition in this location here. You can see here's the existing garage, and here's the changes to the garage. And then changes to this window here, it's bumped out a little bit. Here's the roof plan. The roof, it has variations in the roof pitch. The garage pitch will, like I said, will match the proposed stairwell roof. And then the proposed addition would have a somewhat flat roof. The project is consistent with the zoning ordinance. There are some existing nonconformities, but those are allowed. In terms of the architectural review findings, the proposed project, the proposed siding, form, massing are appropriate, and that they are of single-family residential character. The architectural style is appropriate, and that is of single-family residential character. The proposed first and second story addition are appropriate, and then it would not substantially change the views, privacy, or living environment currently enjoyed by properties in the vicinity. The additions are located along the north elevation where the stairs will be located, and along the east elevation. And the east elevation is set back approximately 35 feet from the neighbor's second story, and there would only be 2 proposed second story windows along the east elevation. Privacy impacts, if any, are anticipated to be minimal. And we have not received any comments on this project to date. The project is consistent with a low-density residential land use designation, and that the remodel and addition would be of single-family residential character. And the Monterey Vista neighborhood does not have specific adopted design guidelines. The dwelling would have dark brown asphalt composite shingle roofing, a combination of both stucco siding and horizontal wood siding. The new windows and doors would be aluminum clad with wood interior. These finishes are appropriate and that they complement the architectural style and are of single-family residential character. And staff recommends approval of the first and second story addition, deck expansion, and exterior alterations. Staff is available for questions, and I know the applicant Alan Lehman is joining us via Zoom.
Thank you. Are there questions for staff? Anybody on Zoom can jump in with questions. Does the applicant want to make a presentation?
I'm not sure if they're going to make a presentation. We could ask them. Otherwise, they'll probably just be available for questions.
Yeah, so Mr. Lehman, I believe you're on the Zoom call. Would you like to make any comments regarding your proposed design?
Sure. I'm happy to present a little bit of our background on the project. First, thank you, committee members, for your hard work in these meetings, and also thank you, Christy, for all the help and guidance along the way with working out this project. Fairly simple or straightforward addition to a house. We family that recently bought the house wanted a little bit more space. So we, added another bedroom to the upstairs, and also wanted to bring the house into a little bit more of the 21st century. It's not a shining example of the 70s architecture, but is a well-built house that was certainly worth working with, and being as respectful to the existing frame of the house as possible. So kind of took, I don't know if you can see well the background of my Zoom image, kind of took some influence from the varying roof forms of the history of Cannery Row, and similarly how the aquarium used a lot of that, those variety of roof pitches to bring together, a beautiful building down in Cannery Row. We wanted to do that, a little bit of that with this building. The client, Allie and John, reached out to the neighbors surrounding them, and to present the project, and all had positive feedback. And I guess that is part of why certainly no negative feedback has come in from neighbors. So we're quite happy that everyone nearby is on board with the project. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
I may have missed it, but did you have any, I didn't see anything about the new colors that the house is going to be.
So those, if that's a question for me, the colors were, let me just go through. I believe there was we did not submit a color board for that, but the colors on the renderings, if you have the renderings, are very much in line with what we're seeking at this point. The stucco being a fairly neutral grayish tan taupish color, and a complementary greenish gray wood siding along with that is what we're looking at this point.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for the applicant? Thank you for your presentation.
All right, you're welcome.
We will go to public comments, and we'll see if any members of the public would like to make a comment on this item. Would you like to briefly remind everybody how they can join us, Jennifer?
Yes, and before I will ask our in-person commenters or attendees if they'd like to comment, I just want to introduce Zoom again. So to join the meeting from a computer or phone, use the link or phone numbers listed on the agenda posted at isearchmonterey.org. To join by telephone, dial 833-568-8864. Once again, 833-568-8864. That is a toll-free number. You will need a webinar ID. This meeting's is 161-914-9563. Once again, 161-914-9563. Lastly, to provide public comment, once you are in Zoom, use the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen. If you are providing public comment by phone, dial *9 to raise your hand, then *6 to unmute when called upon. And I do not see any hands raised at the moment. So I would like to ask any of our in-person viewers if you would like to provide public comment for this topic. It sounds like no.
Okay, we will move into committee member comments, and then if anybody joins us and would like to speak, we'll take their public comments. We're going to close public comment for now. and open to committee member comments. Does anybody on the committee want to make comments about this agenda item? Okay, hearing none, I'll call for a motion. Would somebody like to make a motion on this item?
Yeah, I move that we approve application ARP 210082 for preliminary and final architectural review of a first and second story addition and exterior alterations to the existing two-story family dwelling at 541 Dry Creek Road.
This is Patrick. I'll second that.
Did you get all that, Jennifer?
I did, thank you.
Okay.
And for the roll call vote, we have Chair Carter,
Aye.
Vice Chair Bluth,
Aye.
Committee Member Hunter,
Aye.
Committee Member Ostavar,
Aye.
Committee Member Schmidt,
Aye.
Committee Member Tregenza,
Aye.
and Committee Member Polly is still absent. So this is approved with a total of 6 votes. And this is appealable within 10 days to the planning office.
And forms are available on monterey.org.
Thank you.
Forms to appeal. Forms to appeal.
Correct, the
Awesome.
appeal form.
Thank you. Okay, congratulations. Thank you for participating. Congratulations on your new house. That's exciting. Okay, we are going to move on to 484 Lane Street, application ARP-20-0043 for preliminary and final review. Is there a staff report?
Yes, thank you. Sorry, give me 1 second. Okay. Sorry about that. My name is Christy Sabdo with the City of Monterey, Associate Planner. The next project is 484 Lane Street. It's also a first and second story addition. The project is zoned R3. It has a general plan designation of medium density residential, and it's in the new Monterey neighborhood. Here are some existing photos of the house. See the front along Lane Street, and then the back and sides. As background, the applicant proposes an addition to the main level and the basement. So a little background here on how a basement can be considered a story and also what's included as floor area. So basements that have an interior height that is greater than 6 feet 11 inches are considered habitable space and are considered floor area. So these areas were included in the proposed floor area calculations when determining consistency with the zoning ordinance. Also, any basement level that has a habitable room is to be considered the first story. Therefore, the basement is considered the first story and the main level is the second story. The R3 district allows a 35% floor area ratio. However, there's an exception allowed in Monterey City Code where you can increase the floor area ratio to 40%, provided that you meet the R1 district standards for floor area ratio, setbacks, and lot coverage. The applicant is proposing a floor area ratio of 40%.
And just to clarify there, why does our code include that? And many years ago, the city wanted to provide an incentive to maintain single-family homes in the R3 district. And so they allowed the R1 development standards to apply to single-family homes in the R3 district, which is predominantly multifamily.
Thank you, Kim. So as background, we did receive, we did receive a call from a neighbor at 498 Lane Street, and she has concerns about the privacy of the proposed second story deck. I did go over to her house. She invited me in and I took photos, which I'll share with you. So here's the inside of her house. She has windows along the entire north facing side of her house. And she has concerns. You can see the story pole right. And she has concerns about people being out on the deck and looking in her window. I'll explain more about that as I continue through my presentation. The proposal includes a total of 435 square feet, which would include a 197 square foot second story main level addition, a 238 square foot first story habitable basement addition, and an interior remodel. So Lane Street is here. You can see that the addition is along the east side mainly and the rear of the property. The proposal would also include the demolition of the existing deck and the construction or reconstruction and expanded deck, which would be 272 square feet along the second level. The deck would be at the same elevation as the existing deck, with the exception that the deck railing, it's now 36 inches, would be 42 inches to meet the building code guardrail requirements. The 648 square foot interior remodel would include a kitchen, family room, dining room, and lower level. So here's a comparison of the existing first story and the proposed first story. And you can see the stairs, how they were located here, are relocated to the east side. And here's the proposed second story. You can see this is the interior, the stairs, and then the expanded deck. And here's the rear elevation showing the addition and the deck, which is expanded, and some new windows, and also like a small lower level deck. Here's the west elevation in orange showing the addition with the deck. And the east elevation. Just so you, to let you know that the windows are approximately in the same location as the existing, and this window on the basement level is just expanded a bit. Here are pictures of the story poles. The one closest to the house is for the second story addition. The second story pole is showing the deck. I do want to let you know that that story pole is shown as the same height as this second story addition, but it should be brought down because it's going to be the same elevation as the existing deck with the exception of the guardrails. And you can see in white here, this is 498. And the windows that they have, and they can see the deck from their windows. Some additional pictures here. Here's the roof plan. The roof will be relatively flat, only a 2% slope. And the roof material will be a hot tar roof system. Staff reviewed the zoning ordinance and the project and found that the project is consistent with the zoning ordinance. In terms of the architectural review findings, the proposed siding form and massing are appropriate and that they are single family residential character. The architectural style is appropriate and that it is of single family residential character. So in terms of views, the proposed first and second story addition are appropriate and that it would not substantially change the views, privacy, or living environment currently enjoyed by properties in the vicinity. The additions are along the north and east elevations and are not anticipated to result in view or privacy impacts for the adjacent properties. As shown on the left and east exterior elevation, one small window would be replaced and moved slightly toward the rear of the property, and one small window will be added. So you can see here, here's the new window. This window will be moved. As shown on the west elevation, there would be 3 new windows and 1 door with a window. So they're in approximately the same location, just maybe a little bit bigger. The new reconstructed expanded deck is substantially in the same location as the existing deck. The neighbor at 498 Lane Street has concerns regarding potential privacy impacts from the north-facing window. The concerns are about the loss of privacy when people are on the proposed upper deck, which can be seen from our kitchen, living room, and dining room windows. Staff has concluded that the privacy impact is limited and reasonable because only a small portion of the deck is visible relative to the large window. And the view from the proposed new deck would predominantly be towards the rear north elevation of the property, with views facing Monterey Bay, and would not be directly facing the living room at 498 Lane Street. The project is consistent with the medium density residential land use designation, and that the remodel and addition would be of single family residential character. The new flat roof for the addition would be finished with a hot tar roof system with mineral surface sheet finish. New windows for the addition would be mill guard fiberglass to match the existing windows. New doors would be solid wood to match the existing, and the addition would be a stucco finish to match the existing. These finishes are appropriate and that they complement the architectural style and are of single family residential character. The roof material will not be visible due to its flat shape. And staff recommends approval of the first and second story addition, new rear deck, and exterior alterations. I did want to note that staff did receive 2 comment letters, and they have been uploaded to the city's website. One is in support. It's from a neighbor on Lane Street who is in support of the project. The other one is from the neighbor at 498 Lane Street. The pictures that I showed you earlier from the inside of her house. She has concerns about privacy from the new expanded deck of people standing on the deck and looking into her windows. And I believe that she's going to be in attendance tonight, making additional comments. And that's the end of my presentation. I know that the applicant is online and available for any questions.
Are there questions for staff? Go ahead. Yeah.
Can you just reiterate what is the square footage of the current deck and again, the square footage of the proposed deck?
Oh, the new deck is, sorry, let me go back. The expanded deck is 272 square feet. I don't have, maybe we can ask the applicant what the square footage of the existing deck is. I didn't have that on hand. Sure.
Does anyone else have questions for staff?
This is Patrick. Yeah, thanks. Good job, Christy, on this report. So the photos that you took from 498 Lane Street that show the story poles, are you saying that those are actually that orange tape is actually going to be lower? I think you went past it.
Sorry, I'm trying to get to.
You just passed it again.
Okay, here we go.
Well,
No, the one from the view.
go to the view from 498 if you
A
don't mind.
picture?
Yeah,
Okay, sorry.
there we go.
Right there you go. So that's going to be significantly lower, actually.
Yes.
Okay. So, and is that, let's say that the how much lower than the top of that red tape is the top of the guard handrail going to be? Approximately?
I asked the applicant to be ready for this question, so if we could direct that question to him, it's Derek Johnson. He should be able to answer that question for us.
Christy, could I see the elevation of the back deck with the 2 story poles?
With
The deck, with the 2 story poles, the second, that one, thank you. And the existing deck, I mean, the proposed deck will be about the same level as the existing deck?
It will be the same elevation as the existing deck. The only exception is The guardrails will be higher instead of 36 inches, they'll be 42.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Do you have any? Okay. Would the applicant like to make a presentation?
Hi, this is Caitlin Richardson, and my husband Michael is in the room, there at City Hall with you guys. Has he raised his hand?
Here.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, there.
Thanks for.
Can you turn on the green button?
Welcome. Thank you for joining us. It's not on yet.
Not on. Okay, is it on now?
Yes.
Can you state your name?
Okay, hi, I'm Michael Richardson. My wife Caitlin and I own the property at 484 Lane Street. And so I'm here tonight to answer any questions for you, but give you a little background on what we're trying to do. So first off, I have to thank Christy and the rest of the staff for putting up with us throughout these last few years, as we've gotten a lot of advice from her on, how to meet the code requirements. The second thing is, I do understand, particularly in our case, this is a good example of the responsibility that you all carry on the council. So thanks very much for helping to adjudicate challenges in the neighborhood. So thanks. Okay, so what I just wanted to point out, there are 4 things about the property that I think are relevant for us right now. And the first one was, I purchased the property 11 years ago, and our intent has always been to raise our family there. So we have a son. And so the first point was to make the house as livable as possible as a family. It's original in 1940, most of the interior of the house. And so that leads to several other points. The next one really being safety for us as a family, and particularly for our son. The stairs in the back right now I would not consider them to be the safest way to exit the house. And so we had considered removing those in order to be able to, improve the safety. The other thing is, the house does not have an internal stairway, which is another issue. So we have to leave the house to go out the backside or the front side to get downstairs. And so those are all safety issues. In addition, much of the remodel really has to do with the structural integrity of the house and the systems that are in it. So the idea to get really basically up to modern conveniences, so that the house can meet expectations for us as a family, that it'll be able to survive through any of the potential issues we have, like the floods in 2016 and 17. Then the next point for my wife and I is the idea that our intent, I left the service just recently, retired from the service, and our intent is to stay here as a family. And so another point is to update the house so that we can age in place in it. I think everybody can appreciate that. In terms of, finally, one of the big issues, people come to Monterey because of the quality of life. And so we ourselves believe, it's our right also to enjoy the shared view. And so, we're looking to optimize our opportunity to, one, have outdoor living space, and two, to be able to enjoy the beauty of the outdoors from our home. So those are the 4 reasons why we're looking at this. And I'm available for any questions. And I don't know if I'll have an.
Can I make a comment?
Sure. Yes.
Are people able to see? I'm trying to share my screen because I have the slides.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay.
You, Caitlin.
You're welcome. Thank you.
That's a better picture of the story poles.
Yeah.
But you said it will still go down a little bit from that, Christy?
So this view of the story poles are actually taken from our neighbor's deck on, so that's the view that she has right now. And I think it kind of exemplifies, New Monterey is a fairly tight living area. And so I actually don't necessarily think the issue today that we're talking about is really one of privacy, just given the nature of the neighborhood. I think it's one about, there is change, and I understand people are uncomfortable with change. But at this point in time, I'm asking you all to consider the request for us to modify our plan again, which we've already done 2 other times, in an effort to accommodate that you would consider this as actually now a question about preference, personal preference. And I just think as a family, it's our right to live within our property as long as we meet the legal, all the jurisdictional requirements and all the municipal requirements. And we meet the common sense approach as neighbors. If our house is improved in terms of safety, it's better for our whole neighborhood. I would hope my neighbors would appreciate that. And the fact that, if we can improve the quality of life of our home, it improves, for market brief sale for everybody else's properties. So those are just one of the things I would ask you to consider as you weigh whatever your determination will be was, what is the actual nature of the question posed, since we do meet the municipal requirements at this point.
So my question was the picture from your neighbor's house,
Yes.
that story pole will be lower, correct, than it is now?
That's correct. It's approximately, and it's really rough because the elevation changes dramatically in the backyard. If you all had a chance to walk it, you could see it. The gentleman struggled getting the poles up, and it's on one end, it's about 30 inches too high. On the other end, it's about 25 inches too high.
Okay.
From where the top of the railing would actually be.
Questions?
Also, the question I had before, what's the square footage of the deck as it's currently in place?
Sir, I'm going to give you a roundhouse guess that it's approximately 200 square feet.
Yeah.
Much of the square footage for the next deck you'll see is really encapsulated in the walkway around to get to the deck itself.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Unless Mr. Johnson wants to address that.
Can I come up?
Yeah, please come introduce yourself.
Hello, thank you, staff and committee members. My name is Derek Johnson. I'm the designer engineer that prepared the drawings for Mr. and Mrs. Richardson. As he mentioned, we spent a few years working on it, multiple different ways. I did get the existing deck area, which was 195 square feet. And so the actual proposed deck area you see in back on the new drawings are 210, but then it wraps around and has the stairway. And so that's the other 62 square feet. So there's about 15 square feet more of deck because the actual 195 doesn't include the stairway either of the existing. So, but I know one thing I wanted to point out, I know his wife showed it on there, was one of the ideas they came up with was they were going to try to put a garage back there and then put a deck on top of it. And at that time I had mentioned talking to the neighbors, and they talked to a few neighbors, and that might have been when the original other neighbor that made the comment said, well, that's, really encroaching on my views and whatnot. I don't know exactly what was said. And so we came back and made changes to that, so we have tried as well as we can to minimize impact everywhere. I mean, all the additions are in back, very minimal added areas or mass to the structure. So thank you.
Did you have a question?
Yeah, what's the material you're using for the railing? It looks like it's just a wood.
Yeah,
Just
I think, do you have any plans for your railing or anything specific that?
And the structure below. I mean, it looks like it's just post and wood beam that goes across the top for the handrail.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
The ultimate intent is to make sure it's as safe as possible.
Right, yeah.
So,
Anybody else have questions for the applicant? Okay. Thank you both for your presentation. That was great. We will move on to public comments. If there are any members of the public who would like to speak, they can do so now.
I do not see any members of the public in our Zoom call right now, but I will just make a quick announcement on how we can join the Zoom meeting from our computer or phone. You can use the link or phone numbers listed on the agenda posted at isearchmonterey.org. To join by telephone, dial 833-568-8864, then enter the webinar ID. for this meeting. It is 161-914-9563. To provide public comment, use the raise your hand button in Zoom at the bottom of the screen. Or if you are providing public comment by phone, dial *9 to raise your hand, then *6 to unmute when called upon. I am not seeing any hands raised or any new members in the audience, so I will say it's safe to move on.
Great. Thank you. We will take public comments if they come. Are there any committee member comments on this project? No. Okay, I will take a motion. Whoever's ready to make a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Great.
That we approve 484 Lane Street application ARP 200043 for preliminary and final architectural review of first and second story addition.
Is there a second on that?
I
Okay.
second.
Who wants it? I heard you both.
Shelley. Go ahead,
Okay.
Shelley.
All right, I have a first and a second, and for the vote, we have Chair Carter,
Aye.
Vice Chair Bluth,
Aye.
Committee Member Hunter,
Aye.
Committee Member Ostavar,
Aye.
Committee Member Schmidt,
Aye.
Committee Member Tregenza,
Aye.
and Committee Member Polly is absent today. So this project is approved with a vote of 6. And it is appealable. Forms to do so can be found at the planning office.
Congratulations. Thank you for your service, Mr. Richardson.
I did have a question. Is it appropriate to make comments after we voted?
Not usually.
That's fine then. That carries my thoughts for the most part. So my vote carries my thoughts. Thank you.
And just on the clarification on the appeal period, it's 10 days from the date of decision on forms available at monterey.org.
And just also for clarification, there was a little bit more to the project title. So I just want to make sure if it is approved as submitted and as suggested, or if you wanted to make any amendments.
No. It was approved as submitted. Thanks.
Thank you.
Great, thank you both. Next, we're going to move on to consider 260 Alvarado Street sign permit application SI-21-0097 for an amended Portola Hotel multi-tenant sign program for Venture Gallery and a new 15 square foot wall sign for Venture Gallery.
Thank you, Chair Carter.
Thank you.
Committee members. So the next application is 260 Alvarado Street, a sign permit application to amend the Portola Hotel multi-tenant sign program for Venture Gallery and a new sign for Venture Gallery. Staff recommends approval of the sign permit. So the project is located at 260 Alvarado Street, which is one of the tenant spaces for the Portola Hotel and Spa along Alvarado Street. It has zoning of VAF and a general plan land use designation of commercial. So as you're walking toward the Portola Hotel, it's one of the first tenant spaces. It's for the Venture Gallery. This is kind of an old picture off of Google. Here is a recent picture. And just looking at the recent picture, I wanted to let you know that the A-frame sign is not part of this proposal, and special condition of approval 1 asks for removal of that A-frame sign. So the proposal includes the amendment of the existing approved multi-tenant sign program for 2 Portola Plaza and Spa for the tenant space 260 Alvarado Venture Gallery. The condition of approval 6 in the approved multi-tenant sign program requires a sign permit for new signs and sign face changes. The proposal is not consistent with the citywide sign guidelines, which therefore requires architectural review committee approval. And the second part of the proposal is a sign permit for Venture Gallery for a wall sign. Here's just a snapshot of the approved resolution. It was approved in January of 2015 of the multi-tenant sign program. And on the right is just one page of the sign program that includes the approved signage for Venture Gallery. They are allowed 25 square feet of signage under this program, a 6 to 8 square foot wall sign, a 16 square foot fin sign, and a 9 square foot awning sign. And you could see examples of these, the wall sign, awning sign, and the fin sign, which we call a projecting sign in our guidelines. So just to compare the two, the applicant is proposing an increase in the total signage. So they want to increase the wall sign to 15 square feet. While they're not proposing a fin or projecting sign now, they do want to change the allowable fin signage under the multi-tenant sign program to 5.48. And then that would be a new total of 29.48 square feet for the multi-tenant sign program just for this tenant space. And that exceeds the total signage allowed under the sign guidelines, which is why it's before you today. So the signage that they would like to install for Venture Gallery at this point in time is a 15 square foot wall sign shown here. And they had a note on the sign plan that they were going to remove old bracket sign. But under the multi-tenant sign program, they're supposed to keep the brackets so that they're all consistent throughout the tenant space. So I added a special condition of approval that they remove this note and that they keep the bracket for any future fin or projecting sign. So the sign program and the revised multi-tenant sign program was reviewed for consistency with the citywide sign guidelines. And the only inconsistency is the allowable square footage. So the Venture Gallery has a linear square footage of 39 feet. The maximum allowable sign area is 19.5 square feet. The proposed total sign area for Venture Gallery is now 29 feet as proposed. So they would be exceeding the maximum allowable by 9.5 square feet. Everything else is consistent, including the wall sign, projecting sign, and awning signage. They all are consistent and no change. The proposed signage does not constitute as a proliferation of signage. The signs serve to identify the Venture Gallery and there are no extraneous signs proposed. Furthermore, special condition 1 requires the removal of the existing non-permitted A-frame sign. The project is not wholly consistent with the sign guidelines. The only inconsistency with the sign guidelines is the proposed maximum sign area, which is exceeded by 9.5 square feet. The inconsistency better achieves the objectives of the sign ordinance and sign guidelines, and that when viewed collectively, the proposed signage would convey a cohesive and complementary streetscape that expresses the city's unique historic and aesthetic character. The materials, dimensions, and placement would complement signage on the adjoining properties. Proposed signage is largely consistent with the general plan in that it supports the operation of a commercial use. This, I thought I deleted it. I'm sorry, that was from an old project. I have added 2 special conditions. 1, the applicant shall remove the existing temporary A-frame sign. And 2, prior to approval of the building permit, the applicant shall revise the proposed wall signage for Venture Gallery, removing the language that states the old bracket sign to be removed by the Portola Hotel and replace it with fin sign bracket to remain. Applicant recommends approval of the sign permit to allow an amended Portola Hotel multi-tenant sign program and a new 15 square foot wall sign for Venture Gallery at 260 Alvarado Street. That is the end of staff's presentation, and the applicant should be on Zoom if you have any questions.
Are there any questions for Christy?
I do, it's Patrick.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Christy. So it looked to me like we're going to reduce the size of the fin sign, even though they're not going to have a fin sign, but it's going to say that it's reduced. Is that true?
Correct. Just in the future, if they want to add a fin sign, that they can do that. So
Got
that's why they've amended the.
So
the
they've
sign program as well.
agreed to making that smaller in light of making their wall sign larger, and then they're still over the limit.
Correct.
And then I didn't see an awning sign on that proposal. Are they going to forego that?
They're not proposing an awning sign, but the multi-tenant sign program, the new one, the awning doesn't change. So it was 9 square feet under the existing multi-tenant sign program. The proposed includes a 9 square foot awning sign.
So if they're not going to use the awning sign and the awning is 9 square feet, then they're almost right at the right square footage, right?
Well, you have to add up the wall, the fin, and the awning sign for the total square footage, and they want to be able to allow those types of signs in the future.
Okay.
Oh.
So the next tenant may say, okay, well, we want an awning sign, we want a fin sign, and we want the wall sign, and it's going to be 29.48.
Yes.
Okay. I don't have a problem with that, and I like the balanced feel of the proposed sign. The thing that concerns me is having this wall bracket that doesn't have a sign on it. I think that's going to look kind of tacky and unfinished. And I understand the concern of like, what happens to that wall bracket? You know, it's going to get lost or thrown away. It's safer just to leave it on the wall. But I think visually, you know, if these people are going to be here for a couple of years, it would look so much nicer just to have it be clean and not have that empty bracket just jutting out into the walkway. That's my personal opinion. So if we could, you know, change that verbiage to like, yeah, you can remove the wall bracket, but you have to make sure that you put it in a safe place so that we can put it back and that it matches all the other wall brackets, if the case may be. I don't think an empty wall bracket is going to add anything to the look of that plaza personally. And that's all I had.
I was just going to add to Patrick's, it's Spion. He had the same questions I did, sort of clarification questions on the signage, and also a similar concern. I'm just a little worried about that bracket being empty. Generally, I actually like this ordinance, that it's keeping the signs and the amount of words out of our view. I think that's fairly important. So I have just slight concerns about increasing the size allowed for this. I'm struggling to see a time when you would want both your bracket sign, you know, all 3 of these at once. And so I'm not sure why that's a requirement. For them, I can see why they want that sign on the side, but really the visibility I've noticed of their space is the artwork itself and the windows. So I question, you know, if this is a proposal for this space or just this tenant. Do we need to approve it for the following tenants? It sounds like that's yes.
So this is just for Venture Gallery. They are only proposing a change to this portion of the multi-tenant sign program, and the Architectural Review Committee could ask them to revise their proposal, certainly.
So I just want to speak up a little bit here because this project has a little bit of history. So our sign guidelines recommend that a sign program be submitted to the city so we can have consistency overall for the building. And if I remember correctly, all the buildings along the plaza had the right to a flat sign, an awning sign, and a fin sign. And then what we see is as businesses come and go, they usually pick a couple of the, maybe 1 or 2 of the 3. I guess there could be a scenario where they pick all 3. But in the past, we actually had really disparate awnings from the wall sign. So I think this program has successfully given sort of some cohesion to the building, some design cohesion. So I would continue to recommend, I mean, the amendment that's being pursued is, a slight amendment to the existing sign program, but that we continue to allow future tenants, if the new business comes in and doesn't want a flat sign, but wants an awning sign, we allow them the same right that everybody else has within that courtyard area. So that's the main thought behind the overall sign program.
That made sense to me. I actually just kind of liked Patrick's approach, which was, well, right now they're not doing the awning sign. So they're actually pretty close, and that makes total sense for me. I just was questioning, sort of wondering why there's a need to change that, modify that if it's not being utilized anyway.
Because the total sign program sets square footage limits by sign type. So the project as submitted was in conflict with the approved sign program. I guess another approach that could have been taken with this project, that as long as the overall signage is not exceeded, the applicant has the ability to exchange, maybe they have the ability to do 30 square feet as the flat sign and nothing in the others. The program doesn't say that currently. It gives maximums per type.
Okay, that solves my questions then. Thank you.
It's Patrick again. Yeah, thanks for that, Kim. I think, I don't want to stir anything up here, but it seems like having it be a maximum amount of square footage, however many signs you choose to use. So if you, like you say, we don't want a fin sign, we don't want an awning sign. So that means our wall sign can get bumped up to 30 square feet or whatever. It just seems to make more sense than having, these parameters for signs that aren't going to be used, but that maybe could be used. So it's not really protecting, the views in the area. It just seems a little awkward the way that this is designed, so that you can have the option of having all three. I think it should be more like, we don't want the awning, we don't want the fin. So can we make our wall sign a little bit bigger? Yeah, sure. But having to leave the other two in there as, I don't know. I don't understand why it has to be like that. And I don't want to reinvent the wheel for you guys either, because I know this is just one tenant in a big whole conglomerate of stores down there. But it just seems like it would be so much cleaner just to have the sign that they want. You can have the extra square foot for your wall sign, but you have to, sign a waiver saying you're not going to ever put an awning sign up until you reduce the sign of your wall sign again, or something like that, like a rider or something. I don't know. I don't know how these things work really.
I think that could have certainly been an approach. It's not the one sort of where we started. So if the ARC is looking at alternatives, I guess the question for the applicant could be, could we keep the existing square footages and add an asterisk to this to say, and the square footages may be shifted, or if you want something like that to provide flexibility, if that's the direction that the Architectural Review Committee wants to go, I would ask the applicant. Is the existing signage total, Christy, it was at 25 square feet and it was proposed at 29?
Yes.
And they don't have, so the proposal would be within the total of 25 square feet today, as shown on the.
They're proposing 29.48 square feet.
But they're not using the awning.
Yeah.
And they're not proposing the fin sign either. I was just highlighting the changes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's certainly an opportunity or an approach that could be taken, maybe obtain some input from the applicant on how they feel about that.
I'm going to agree with Patrick on this one. I think we've been through many in my last, 3.5 years, we've been through many of these multi-tenant sign programs. And I think if we can keep the option of you have this many square feet for your signs and you can use it however you want, that makes the most sense to me.
Yeah, I would agree with that, but I think that if you're going to take all of your square footage and put it into one sign that's out of proportion to everything else, so in some respects, I think it's legitimate to have a limit, say for instance, the size of the wall sign. Are you going to make that 6 by 5 as opposed to whatever else that is out of proportion? So I understand and I appreciate the type of sign. And it would be, I think, beneficial both to the applicant and to the city to give some latitude of how they want to display that. But I still think it's appropriate to put some limit on what type of sign they're going to stick out somewhere and saying, hey, I'm using all of my allowable square footage for this. So I think there's a give and take there, but I think there should be boundaries or limits put on the extreme of those things. My 2 cents.
I agree with all those comments.
Yes, okay, we'll get there. Okay,
I guess, could we put a condition that any awning sign would require revisiting that request to ARC? So then kind of take the awning sign off the table, even though they're not doing anything with it right now.
Yes, you could remove one of the allowed sign types. I would not recommend that. I just want to explain why. We've worked with a lot of businesses and over the years, and I know one business only wanted an awning sign and they didn't want the other two, and one only wanted the fin sign and one only, and it's hard to predict. And so I liked the flexibility between the 3 types because we see all 3 types in that plaza. And the overall square footage or the square footages by types or the maximums give some consistency to those. So that would be my recommendation is if we were starting all over from scratch with the sign program. So I would recommend sort of keeping it roughly as it is today.
so Kim, are you saying that the way the sign program is existing would be similar to what Ed was saying, that they have to be a certain size?
There's a maximum, right? So that's, and so the question is, you know, I can't see from here, but let's say maybe it says 15 square feet for the
It's hard to
flat
read.
sign. Is the committee going to be okay if that sign's 30 square feet and everybody else's is roughly 15? So it establishes maximums, but you don't have to put all them up.
Mhm.
And then I think Committee Member Tregenza was saying, maybe you should have more flexibility. You know, the question is, what would be the percentage? Is it the total? Do we care? Maybe you could say they could be increased slightly above the total or something, so it's not all 30 square feet goes into one sign,
Mhm.
if you're concerned about like visual continuity.
I'll speak for myself, and the only struggle I'm having is just that we're apparently making a modification to an established set of rules, and are we then setting a precedent? Is it this is a forever modification? I guess we're making, and if there's seems like there's almost no reason to do that because their square footage total doesn't add up to something that's over. That's I think this sort of struggle. I don't like making major changes, even though it's coming from planning and you're approving this. It just is typically making a modification to an established plan makes us nervous.
I agree. I wish there was just a solution that, you know, would keep it, you know, we obviously don't want them to have a 30 square foot wall sign, but, you know, changing, like squeaking the numbers around just to, anyway, I'm not sure what the solution is. If you guys want to revisit it or think about it or have another approach to it, I would be open to hearing anything you guys can come up with, or, you know, leaving it as it is. I'm fine with that. I mean, Kim, if you're pretty confident that nobody's going to come in and say, well, I want my 3 signs and that's just the way it's going to be. I mean, I know that can legally happen now. So, and now we're making, we're making the signs bigger. So somebody could come in and say, I want all 3 signs. And also, I'd like to hear your input, Kim, on removing that wall bracket for the fin sign that's not going to be used too.
Yeah, I think the wall bracket can be, should be removed if it's empty. I don't think we can enforce a condition to say, and you have to store it on site, because what happens with conditions of approval, then technically the planning staff should go out and confirm that it's stored on site. And I just don't know if that's achievable. But, I think hopefully they can figure that out. They can give it to the management of, the Portola, say, here it is. And so I think, it should come down if it's sticking out there. If you want to provide, you could leave all the square footages at what they're at today and say, and I don't know what the percentages are, but let's say 10% can be, or 15% can be shifted between the areas that allows them to install what they want to install, and provide some flexibility. But I do want this application to go forward because we have a business waiting that wants to open and, have their new signs. So however we get there would be my recommendation. And I don't think 4 square feet is the end of the world. I mean, I think it's a fairly minor change.
Okay, well, in that case, well, I mean, we're not, I guess we have comment after there's a motion, so I'll wait for a motion.
We're not there yet. We still need to see if the applicant has a presentation for us. Is the applicant here? Do we know?
They indicated they were going to be present, but
okay,
I don't know if they're here.
Is there anyone online, Jennifer?
I do not see any attendees in our Zoom meeting, or as a panelist, I do not see the applicant.
Okay, then we will go to, this was a really great discussion. I will open it for committee member comments. I know there are some. Oh, we need to open it for public comments. You're right. Okay, so we're going to open this for public comments. And if anybody would like to join us, please give us a brief rundown of how we can.
Definitely, thank you. I don't know that anybody is in the audience today in person, but to join the Zoom meeting from a computer or phone, use the link or phone number provided on the agenda posted at isearchmonterey.org. To join by telephone, dial 833-568-8864. Once again, 833-568-8864. Then enter this webinar ID 161-914-9563. 161-914-9563. Once you are in the Zoom meeting, you can use the raise your hand function or dial *9 to raise your hand. I'm still not seeing any attendees, and would you like to make a public comment on this item? Nope.
No.
I say no.
Okay. Then we will close public comments and we will move to committee member comments. Who would like to start?
I'll get started. This is Payan. I completely understand the desire to have more visibility in this location, and generally agree that what's being proposed is not that big a deal or offensive or a dramatic change from what's the current requirements. However, I like our conversation that's trying to find a way to not make this a change in sort of a precedent. Kim mentions maybe adding something like 10% can be shifted. If that's an easy note that we can add to this, I think that would be great. I'm not sure. I don't know if that number is accurate or correct for what exactly would be appropriate, but something along those lines would be helpful, and I'd be happy to approve that.
Kim, I think when you were describing the process, any other applicant at Portola Plaza that would come in as a new tenant would have to come before us to get their sign approved outside of the existing limits that you set, right?
Correct. So they are,
If they were going to exceed like we're having right now, they'd have to come back to ARC through you, and then we would have to approve their expanded sign access.
correct.
So I think
Thank you. Yeah. If that's correct, that clarifies for me. This is a one-time motion. It's not, while it could be precedent setting, it isn't going to be a blanket change for the following tenants.
That's accurate.
Do you have anything else? Okay. Ed? Shelley? No? Patrick?
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad we had this discussion. And I learned a lot about this. The bottom line is we've got a business that wants to open and they need to get their sign up so they can open. So we should get this done so we can get them their sign. I just want to make sure that we, get rid of the A-frame and remove that wall bracket. So I'm okay with it. And I understand, Kim knows like the real workings of this stuff and what people actually do in the real world. So, I don't think we're going to have people with all three signs at the same time, bugging us too much. So I'm ready.
Excellent. So who wants to make the motion?
I'll go ahead and move since I stirred this up to approve sign permit application SI 210097 for an amended Portola Hotel multi-tenant sign program and a new 15 square foot wall sign for Venturi Gallery at 260 Alvarado Street. And conditions of approval are that the applicant shall remove the existing temporary A-frame sign. And prior to approval of the building permit, the applicant shall, okay, no, we already did that. It's going to have language that states old bracket sign to be removed by Portola Hotel.
Is that good?
I'm done.
You get all that, Jennifer? Portola.
You said removed by Portola Hotel.
That's what it says in your report. Yeah. It's a quote. I don't know who's been being quoted.
Okay.
It states old bracket sign to be removed by Portola Hotel.
So if it's appropriate, we could actually just get rid of condition 2 because the plans already say to get rid of the bracket.
Okay. So the only condition of approval is that they remove the A-frame sign then.
You want to be sure that they remove the bracket? I guess the conditions just say that.
Yeah, just make sure that they remove the bracket.
And preserve it if possible, right?
Yeah. Well, hopefully the Portola Hotel knows to hang on to stuff like that, I would imagine.
Okay, so just to be clear, are we including that condition in the motion?
Well, it was part of the resolution. It's at the bottom where it says conditions of approval. So don't we have to include conditions of approval?
If you can change them. So I think number 2 needs to be revised.
Right. Yeah, we're not going to replace it with fin sign bracket to remain. It's just going to say old bracket sign to be removed by Portola Hotel.
Okay, got it. Thank
You want to
you.
repeat that?
I can. So I have that you are voting to approve sign permit application SI 21-0097 for an amended Portola Hotel multi-tenant sign program for Venture Gallery and a new 15 square foot wall sign for Venture Gallery at 260 Alvarado Street with the added condition that the applicant remove the A-frame sign and include language stating the old bracket sign must be removed by the Portola Hotel. Do you want to specify when the sign is not in use, or are we taking that option off the table completely?
I don't think so. I think they're probably going to want to take it down as soon as possible because it's an eyesore. So
Okay.
I don't
Wait.
think we need to complicate it with time frames.
No, I meant because Christy, you had mentioned that they wanted the wall bracket just in case they had that option in the future, in case they want to use the A-frame. We don't want to give them the option. I mean, sorry, wall bracket. Okay, then I am ready to take your votes if you don't mind.
We need a second.
A second.
I'll second.
For any further discussion? Okay.
Chair Carter,
Aye.
Vice Chair Bluth,
Aye.
Committee Member Hunter,
Aye.
Committee Member Ostovar,
Aye.
Committee Member Schmidt,
Aye.
Committee Member Tregenza.
Aye.
And Committee Member Polly is absent. So we do have that approved with a vote of 6. And this is also appealable within 10 days to the planning office.
Thank you, everybody, for that great discussion about signs and options. Are there any other comments by the committee? Okay, staff report.
The only other office update I'd like to share with you, and it's more for the Architecture Review Committee members online. I'm really delighted to introduce Matthew Bugart. He is a new planner, and we're really excited to finally fill the vacancy that was created with Mr. Flowers' departure. So you will be, Matthew's right here, and you'll be seeing him more often, and just wanted to welcome him to our staff.
Thank you. And then it looks like we don't have anything on our agenda for next meeting. Okay. Great. Then I will adjourn this meeting at 5:24. See everybody soon.
Bye.